Good morning, students. Welcome back to online class. I am very happy to meet you in this session through online. Are you fine, students? I hope you all are fine and safe by the grace of God. Students, stay safe in your home and learn well. Okay, students. Now we are learning geography part. Is it? Students, in the previous classes from geography, lesson 1 we learned. Is it? Have you remember in which topic we learned in the previous classes? Very good. We learned about lithosphere 1 endogenetic processes. Is it? Lithosphere 1 endogenetic processes. Is it? From that lesson, what are the things we learned? Have you remember, students? We learned about the structure of the earth, then different types of rocks. Next, we learned about the geomorphic processes, then the plate boundaries, different types of plate boundaries we learned. Then after that, we learned about the earthquake. Then we learned about the tsunami. Then finally, we learned about the volcanoes. Okay, these all things we learned in the previous classes from the geography lesson 1. Okay, students. Today I am going to teach geography lesson 2. Okay, today I am going to teach geography lesson 2. Now listen here. Now let us come forward to today's class. Okay, students. Today I am going to explain lithosphere 2 exogenetic processes. Okay, geography lesson 2 lithosphere 2 exogenetic processes. Okay, now listen here. There are some of the various changes. That means some of the changes were happened in interior the earth. Okay, the changes are called internal and external changes. That means some of the process were happening interior the earth and on the earth surface. That changes we are calling internal and external processes. Okay, then the continuous interaction of these two processes controls the structure of the earth surface. What are the two processes? Internal process and external process. These two processes are continuously in interaction. Okay, the continuous interaction of these two processes controls the structure of the earth surface. Okay, the external processes are the consequence of the solar energy and gravitational forces, and internal processes are an outcome of the earth internal. Okay, the external processes are the consequence of the solar energy and gravitational forces, and the internal processes are an outcome of the earth internal. Okay, from here, first of all, in this lesson, we are going to learn about the exogenetic processes. Okay, endogenetic processes in the previous classes we learned. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the exogenetic processes. That means the external processes. Okay, the exogenetic processes are in two types. They are weathering and mass movement and gradation. Okay, the exogenetic processes are in two types. They are weathering and mass movement and gradation. Okay, then the weathering of mass movement has three branches. Okay, they are physical weathering, chemical weathering and biological weathering. Then the gradation has two branches. They are degradation and aggradation. Okay, can you understand, students? Exogenetic process has two major types. They are weathering and gradation. The weathering has three branches or three types. They are physical weathering, chemical weathering and biological weathering. The gradations has two types. They are degradation and aggradation. Okay, students, today's class I am going to teach weathering alone. Okay, the gradation I will continue the next class. Okay, today we are going to learn about the weathering. Okay, now listen here. Weathering is the breaking, disintegration and decomposition of materials of the earth crust by their exposure to atmosphere. What is weathering? Weathering is the breaking, disintegration and decomposition of materials of earth crust by their exposure to atmosphere. Okay, then there are three types of weathering. Okay, there are three types of weathering. What are the three types of weathering? Very good. physical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering. Okay, what are the three types of weathering? Physical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering. Okay, these three types one by one we are going to learn now. Okay, the first one is physical weathering. Okay, the first type is physical weathering. Now listen here. And physical weathering is a breakdown of rocks without changing their chemical composition through the action of physical forces. Okay, the physical weathering is a breakdown of rocks without changing their chemical composition. Okay, chemical composition won't get any changes. Only the action of physical forces, some of the rocks will get break. Okay, that only called physical weathering. Okay, the constant freezing of rocks during the night and day leads the expansion and contraction of rocks. Okay, because of freezing during night and day, the rocks were expand and contract. Okay, expand and contract. In Tamil, we are saying virivadaidal churungudal. Okay, this action, how it will happen? Because of freezing of the rock. Okay, so because of the expansion and contraction, the rocks get crock. Okay, the rocks get crock. The crocks are formed and some of the disintegration also will happen during the rocks area. Okay, disintegration, that means alidal. Okay, and also the physical weathering has three types. Okay, the physical weathering has three major types. They are exfoliation, block disintegration, and granular disintegration. Okay, what are the three major types of physical weathering? Exfoliation, block disintegration, and granular disintegration. Okay, now listen here. Exfoliation. Exfoliation is the heating and cooling of rocks leads to the peeling of rocks layer by layer like an onion. Okay, because of heating and cooling on the rock surface leads to peeling. Okay, peeling like onion. We know, is it? If we remove the peel off the onion means fully it will come out, is it? So likewise, because of heating and cooling, sometime on the rock surface also get peeling. Okay, like onion. This is called exfoliation. Okay, this is called exfoliation. Then other form of exfoliation, that means sheeting, shattering. Okay, like a sheet like it will remove, shatter like it will remove. That form of exfoliation also will happen. Okay, just to see this picture, students. This is the image of the exfoliation. Okay, this is the image of the exfoliation. See, the peeling of the rocks or shattering. Okay, these things will happen because of the cooling and heating of the rock. Sheeting will happen, shattering will happen. Okay, that the peeling, the rocks surface is peeling, is it? So because of heating and cooling, this reaction will happen in the rock surface. Okay, that only we called exfoliation. Okay, exfoliation. Then the next one is the granular disintegration. Next one is the granular disintegration. Now listen here. Granular disintegration takes place in crystalline rocks where the grains of rocks become loose and fall out. Okay, listen very careful. This granular disintegration, where it happen means, which type of rocks it happen means, wherever the crystalline rocks are there, that particular rocks, the grains of rocks become loose and fall out. Okay, in the surface of the earth, grains like it, that rocks it have, that grains will become loose and fall out. Okay, this is due to the action of temperature. How it will happen? Because of over temperature. Okay, because of over temperature in some crystalline rocks areas, that grains of rocks become loose and fall out. That is called granular disintegration. Okay, just you see this picture. This is the image of granular disintegration. Okay, just you see, because of the high temperature, the grains of the rocks become loose and fall out. Okay, the grains of the rock loose and fall out. Is it? That whole like it is have, is it? So this is called granular disintegration. How it will happen? Because of the temperature and frost. Okay, because of the temperature and snow, it will happen. Okay, then the third type is block disintegration. Okay, the third one is block disintegration. Now, listen here. Repeated expansion and contraction of rocks during day and night causes the stress on the joint of the rock, which result in block disintegration. Okay, repeatedly the expansion and contraction will happen during day and night. Okay, some of the rocks areas are repeatedly again the expansion and contraction and means விரிவடைதல் and சுருங்குதல். Okay, this repeated expansion and contraction of rocks during day and night. Okay, it will happen continuously day and night. Okay, so it causes the stress on the joint of the rock. Okay, which result in block disintegration. Just you see this picture. This is the image of the block disintegration. That means because of the expansion and contraction of the rock in during night and day, the joints of the rock will disintegrated, is it? Just you see this picture, the joint of the rock is disintegrated, is it? This is called block disintegration. Okay, then the second type is the chemical weathering. Okay, weathering has three types. The first one is physical weathering. Now we learned the physical weathering, is it? Physical weathering has three major types: exfoliation, block disintegration, and granular disintegration. Okay, then the second major type of exogenetic process is the chemical weathering. The second weathering is the chemical weathering. Okay, now listen here. The disintegration and decomposition of rocks due to the chemical reaction is called chemical weathering. Okay, the disintegration and decomposition of rocks due to the chemical reaction. Okay, that physical weathering is because of the physical action of physical forces, the physical weathering will happen. The chemical weathering, how it will happen? The disintegration and decomposition of rocks due to chemical reaction is called the chemical weathering. Okay, this is predominantly high in the hot and humid regions such as the equatorial, tropical and subtropical zones because of high heat. Okay, high heat, that means hot and humid regions. Wherever hot and humid regions, the equatorial area, the tropical area and the subtropical area zones will get hot and humid areas, is it? So that areas only, because of that heat and humid, some of the changes will happen. Okay, some of the changes, that means the disintegration and decomposition of rocks were happen because of the chemical reaction. Okay, that is called chemical weathering. This chemical weathering takes place through the process of oxidation, carbonation, solution and hydration. Okay, the chemical weathering takes place through the process of oxidation, carbonation, solution and hydration. Okay, and also the agents of chemical weathering are oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen and water. Okay, the agents of chemical weathering are oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen and water. Okay, understand? No, just you see this picture. This is the image of the chemical weathering. Okay, this is the image of the chemical weathering. Because of the chemical reaction, some of the rocks will get disintegration and decomposition. Okay, then it has some of the process, is it? What are the process? Oxidation, carbonation, solution and hydration, is it? Now we are going to learn one by one. The first one is oxidation. Okay, the first one is oxidation. Now listen here. Oxygen in the atmosphere reacts with the iron found in rocks. That means most of the rocks found in iron, is it? And also in the atmosphere has the oxygen gas, is it? So the oxygen in the atmosphere reacts with the iron found in rocks, thus leads to the formation of iron oxide. The oxygen and rocks were form the iron oxide. This process, similar to the rusting of iron, pressure of air and water, is known as oxidation. Okay, that means the oxygen is joined to iron and it form iron oxide. This process of the rusting of iron, pressure of air and water is known as oxidation, which results the weakening of rocks. What will happen because of it? What will happen? The rocks will get weakened. Okay, the rocks condition will get weakened. Okay, then the second one is the solution. Second one is the solution. Okay, now listen here. The dissolution of rock substances in water result in the loosening of the rock particles. Okay, listen very careful. The dissolution of rock substances in water. Okay, dissolution means கரைதல், is it? The dissolution of rock substances in water result in the loosening of the rock particles. Because of the dissolution of the rock substance, what will happen? The rock's particles will loosen. Okay, this in turn breaks down the rocks. Because of that, the rocks will break. Okay, because of the dissolution of the substance of water, that means rock particles, the rock will get to break down. Okay, then the next one is the hydration. Okay, the next one is the hydration. Now listen here. The absorption of water into the mineral structure, certain chemical in the rock enlarge in size in humid conditions. Okay, the absorption of water into the mineral structure, some of the mineral areas that it absorb the water into the mineral structure, and some of the chemicals in the rock, because of absorbing water and chemicals, the rocks will get enlarged in size. Okay, enlarge in size, that means it absorb the water and chemicals. Since it absorb the water and chemicals, so the rocks enlarge in size. These minerals found in the rock swell, and this result in the development of cracks. Okay, because of absorbing water and minerals, the rocks found swell. Okay, swell, and this result the development of cracks, that during the rocks areas the cracks will happen. Okay, can you understand, students? Then the chemical weathering, how chemical weathering will happen? How chemical weathering will happen? Now listen very careful. Because of the disintegration and decomposition of rocks due to chemical reaction, chemical weathering will happen, is it? And also chemical weathering has some of the process. They are oxidation, carbonation, solution, and hydration, is it? Oxidation means oxygen in the atmosphere reacts with the iron found in rocks, leads to the formation of iron oxide. Because of iron, pressure of air and water is known as oxidation, which results weakening of rocks. Okay, then solution, that means dissolution of rock substance where water result in the loosening of the rock particles. That means resolution, the water content where dissolution through the rock particle, this return the breaks down the rock. That means it will become the breakdown of rock. Then hydration means the absorption of water and chemicals. Okay, some rocks will absorb the water and chemicals. So because of that, rocks will get enlarged in size. It will become swell, and because of that, the cracks were happen on the rock surface. Okay, then the next one is the biological weathering. The third type is the biological weathering. Okay, now listen. Biological weathering occurs due to the penetration and expansion of plant roots, earthworms, burrowing animals, and some human activities. How biological weathering will happen? Biological weathering occurs due to the penetration and expansion of plant roots, earthworm, burrowing animals. That means like rabbit and rats that are living, they will take a hole and live inside the earth, is it? And some human activities, because of that, the biological weathering will happen. Biological weathering how will happen? Because of the expansion of plants roots. That means the plants, if we plant one tree or plant, means it will put the root inside the earth, is it? That is because of that the earth is expanded. And earthworms inside the earth, the earthworms are there. Because of that, the earth will get expansion, the rock will get expansion. And burrowing animals, some of the rabbit and rats, likewise some of the animals are living that inside the rocks or inside the earth. And because of some human activities also, the biological weathering will happen. Okay, understand, students? Students, what are the things we discussed today? Today we discussed about the exogenetic processes, is it? Exogenetic processes has two major types, is it? What are they? weathering and gradation. Is it? Weathering has three types. Is it? What are they? Physical weathering, chemical weathering and biological weathering. Is it? Then gradation has two types. Is it? Degradation and aggradation. Is it? Today's class we learned about only weathering and its types. Is it? Then weathering is a breaking, disintegration and decomposition of materials of the earth crust by their exposure to atmosphere. Is it? Then what are the three types of weathering? Very good. Physical weathering, chemical weathering and biological weathering. Okay. Physical weathering, how will happen? Not chemical composition. Only because of the action of physical forces, some of the changes will happen and during the rocks area and the rocks will get breakdown. Okay, that is called physical weathering. Okay. Then physical weathering has three types. Is it? What are they? Very good. Exfoliation, block disintegration and granular disintegration. Is it? Then next one is the chemical weathering. Chemical weathering, the disintegration and decomposition of rocks due to chemical reaction are called chemical weathering. Is it? Then chemical weathering will happen through some of the process. Is it? What are the process? Oxidation, carbonation, solution and hydration. Is it? Because of this process, through this process the chemical weathering will take. Is it? Then finally we learned about the biological weathering. Is it? Biological weathering occurs due to the penetration and expansion of plant roots, earthworm, growing animal and some human activities. Okay. Okay students, these all things we learned from weathering. Then the gradation, the continuation of this lesson I will teach the next class. Okay, we will discuss the next class. Okay. Okay students, now all are take a book. Now all are take a book students. Page number 178. Page number 178. Roman number 4. Roman number 4. Answer in brief. Roman number 4. Answer in brief. First question. First question. Define weathering. First question. Define weathering. Okay, define weathering. Answer is page number 167. Answer is page number 167. Weathering heading, first para. Answer is page number 167. Weathering heading, first para. Okay, weathering is the breaking, disintegration and decomposition of materials of the earth crust by their exposure to atmosphere. Close the bracket. Then second question. What do you mean by biological weathering? What do you mean by biological weathering? Answer is page number 169. Answer is page number 169. Biological weathering heading that para fully. Okay, page number 169. Biological weathering that para fully. Okay. Then next Roman number 5. Roman number 5. Give reason. First question. Give reason. First question. Chemical weathering is predominant in hot and humid zones. Okay, that question you have to refer the guide. Okay, you will refer the guide. Okay. Then Roman number 6. Roman number 6. Physical and chemical weathering. Distinguish between physical and chemical weathering. Refer book guide. Okay, this question also you have to refer the guide. Okay. Then Roman number 7. Roman number 7. Answer in paragraph. First question. Okay, answer in paragraph. First question. Write a note on weathering, classify and explain. Write a note on weathering, classify and explain. Okay, that one page number 167, 168 and 169. Okay, 167, 168 and 169. Weathering heading that fully, physical weathering fully, exfoliation, granular disintegration, block disintegration, chemical weathering, oxidation, carbonation, solution, hydration, then biological weathering fully. Okay, that fully the first detail. Okay. Okay students, from this lesson do you have any doubt? You will discuss in the Zoom class. Okay, we will discuss. Any doubt you have to ask in the Zoom class. We will meet the next class. Okay students, we will meet the next class. Students,